there are no crimes going on in Gaza except for what Hamas is doing. I would ask you to make a quick thought experiment, if you will. Imagine that you are Sinwar, that you're Hamas, God forbid. You don't have a legion of fighter jets. You don't have armored divisions. You don't have a nuclear arsenal. How would you fight Israel if you were Hamas?
I wouldn't.
I can. Okay, but they chose to. So I'll explain rhetorically how they chose to do so. What they do have is two things that Israel lacks. They have about 2 million civilians in the world's second oldest pathological hatred, that being antisemitism. So what they have decided to do is just get as many civilians dead as possible. For instance, Hamas has been gifted billions over about the span of 2 decades through the EU, Qatar, and Iran, yet they haven't built a single bomb shelter for their people. Isn't that interesting? Because they cared so much for those civilians. Why isn't there a bomb shelter in Gaza? You'd expect at least one. Some other tactics they use, they've built their terror tunnels, much larger than the New York City metro. They've rigged the place with booby traps. About 40% of their rockets, they don't really shoot much anymore now, but when they did, about 40% of them would misfire back into Gaza. And so the strategy is that you rack up as many civilians as possible. Don't distinguish between combatants and non-combatants. Get as many civilian deaths as possible. Harm Israel's international image. Get international pressure to turn against Israel and get them to surrender, thus Hamas' survival. That is their plan. That is their strategy. They've been very successful. I mean, they outnumber us by a factor of 30 to 1, Arabs, so, they're going to be much better at the PR conflict than we are. It's working, and it's asymmetrical warfare. Hamas, they're smarter than you think, and unfortunately, you are falling for it. Now the question is why?
Well, here's my question to you. The Israelis, soldiers who have spoken to various media outlets about the war crimes they were ordered to do. For example, Haaretz recently did an article called The Killing Fields, or It's a Killing Field, in which they interviewed...
I don't trust Haaretz.
Of course you don't, because they go against your narrative, so that's very convenient for you. But Haaretz interviewed...
I don't trust Breaking the Silence either. Breaking the Silence is funded by anti-Semitic...
Of course.
They're funded by
anti-Semitic
European NGOs.
I know. Everyone's anti-Semitic. I know. Everyone you don't like is anti-Semitic. That's why we can't trust your perspective on some things, because anytime someone disagrees with you or exposes anything about Israel, it's anti-Semitism, it's blood libel.
No, that's not true.
It's very true. Oh, no, it's very true. Stop with this. Everyone's Hamas. Everyone. In fact, Yuval Vicht, Yotan Vilk is an IDF tank platoon commander who wrote an article for the New York Times recently, a number of days ago, in which he said that he fought Hamas. He said that he went into Gaza with the IDF to fight Hamas after October the 7th because he wanted to fight for his country after the atrocities Hamas committed in the kibbutzim. And he himself has said that Israel is going way too far, that Israel has slaughtered way too many civilians. And do you know what Israelis have said about Yotam Vilk? They call him they say that he is doing the bidding of Hamas. And also
he's a capo.
Do you know exactly? You're proving my point. You're proving my point. Megyn Kelly was recently talking. Megyn Kelly's an anti-Semite. Megyn Kelly was speaking with Charlie Kirk, and she said that more than likely Jeffrey Epstein was an asset for the Mossad, and they were saying that she was doing the bidding of Hamas. So everyone is doing the bidding of Hamas. Everyone's anti-Semitic. Everyone hates Jews. Everyone is lying except for you, Mr. Goldberg, Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben Gvir, and the rest of the Hasbarists. That's your position.
Here's the thing about Epstein.
That's your position. I don't know, but that's not my point. That's not my point.
When Epstein visited Israel, he hardly knew any Israelis.
Yeah, that's not my point. That's not my point. My point is anyone...
And also, Theodore, just real quick, Theodore, just 1 second. I would also add, do you think the Mossad would really intervene in American affairs after the Pollard affair? You think they would do that again? I don't think so.
My whole point is that if anyone brings up Mossad connections to anything, they are automatically accused of doing the bidding of Hamas. That is my whole point. I'm not here to debate Epstein.
I'll tell you why.
Let's go back. It's not anti...
No. It's very important. Theodore, this is very important for your viewers. I have to make this point real quickly, then you can talk. If Epstein was Greek, for example, This is why it's anti-Semitic. If Epstein was Greek, no one would ever connect the dots and say, "Oh, since he was Greek, therefore he worked with the special, FBI version of the Greeks." No one would ever make the connection. But since he
This
was
is
Jewish, boom,
such
wiped
bullshit.
him aside.
Such bullshit.
It's not.
I remember decades ago when Saudi Arabia or some Saudi billionaire whose name I don't remember, he bought some shares for Fox News and everybody was saying, look, the Arabs are controlling Fox News. Is that anti-Semitism against Arabs now? Please. Now let's go back to what you were saying about Israel's crimes. I know it's very convenient for you to deny or to say that Haaretz are a bunch of liars, but you had several soldiers, numerous soldiers, speak to Haaretz in which they said, we were literally given orders to shoot at hungry Palestinians who were trying to queue up for food. And the Palestinians, of course, they're going to deny it. If I spoke to members of the Wehrmacht, hey, are you guys committing war crimes? No, but I would trust a small group.
Theodore,
excuse me, I'm talking.
Do you know the price of a Hellfire missile?
Nope. Excuse me, I'm talking here. We're talking about Israel's crimes. If I spoke to the majority of the Wehrmacht, do you think they would say, yeah, we're doing crimes? Do you think they would say that? No. Do you think they would say that? Do you think the majority? Do you think the majority of Wehrmacht soldiers during World War II would say, "Yeah, we're doing crimes"?
I don't know. I will not speak on your behalf.
You're a liar. You're dishonest. Stop. Let me finish. No. Let me finish. Let me finish.
Do you think the IDF would waste?
Okay, I gotta mute this dude. I'm muting you. I'm muting you because you're being very annoying right now and obnoxious.
I apologize.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. The majority of Wehrmacht soldiers wouldn't say, yeah, we're committing crimes. They would say, we're fighting for Mother, Father, Deutschland. But there was a small group of Wehrmacht soldiers. If you ever saw the film The Pianist with Adrian Brody, it actually depicts a true story of a real Wehrmacht soldier who actually saved Jews and Polish people because he became disillusioned. So I would trust the small group of Wehrmacht soldiers who said, fuck, we're doing wrong here, then the majority of Wehrmacht who were like, we are doing the work for the fatherland. So that means nothing. Going back to the Haaretz article, soldiers are saying we are literally ordered to shoot at Palestinians as they're running away. We are literally ordered to shoot Palestinians as they're hiding behind mounds of dirt. And then there was a sniper by the name of Benny who recently told Haaretz that he was ordered by his commanders to shoot at people as they were walking to the food distribution zone. And he said that the commanding officers would tell him to shoot at children. And he said that he would fire 50 to 60 rounds every single day. That's 50 to 60 people being killed potentially. And he said, I shot so many people, I can't tell you how many people I've killed, even children. And he said that he is losing his mind, he is pissing in the bed, and he wants to get the fuck out of Israel. So even Benny wants to get out of Israel because he's so terrified by this.
There was the one man, what was his name? Tony Angelo or something like that. He worked with GHF for a time. You know who I'm talking about?
Tony Aguilar.
Made the rounds with Tucker. Yes, Angelo. So he claims that there was a little innocent boy, Gazan child, that he greatly befriended. And he claimed that the boy was killed. Well, it turns out that they recently found the boy. They found him. He's alive and doing quite well, actually. I just wanted to go back with logic for a moment. Well, you can check it out.
No, I've actually seen that the mother actually spoke to Aguilar. You can see the video conversation between Tony Aguilar. Sorry, you can actually see the conversation between Tony Aguilar and the mother of that child, and she says, I can't even find this boy. He's missing. He's been missing for months, weeks, I think.
Maybe he was missing, but apparently
they found him.
Gone.
And the body is gone. In fact, there was a member of the GHF who refused to give his name because he was afraid of the repercussions, but he did an interview with the mainstream media. I think it was with 60 Minutes or so, and he said that he was ordered by the GHF mercenaries to take the bodies of those who were killed by the IDF and put their bodies in pickup trucks to get rid of them because the smell of rotting flesh was so bad. Is that guy also a liar?
Isn't it interesting? Okay, well, isn't it interesting that Tony Angelo
is your strategy to just like deflect?
And then he decided he literally texted all his friends. He texted the CEO, and he said, "I am going to war with you." So there you go. That he has a motivation to lie. Now, I just wanted to ask a question of logic real quick. The question is, a single Hellfire missile can cost north of $50,000 per shot. Do you think, especially during the Biden administration, when there was basically an arms embargo against Israel, Do you think the IDF or the IAF, to be more accurate, do you think they would waste precious munitions to kill civilians, especially when there's plenty of terrorists to go around? You think they would do that?
Theodore?
Hello? Are you there?
Bullets were very expensive during the Holocaust, so the Germans would line Jews up to use one bullet so they could pierce two Jews at the same time to save money. I mean, what is your argument? They have a massive military budget that they get from us, by the way, $4 billion, so that Israel can buy American weapons and bullets. And also, are you going to ignore all these Israeli testimonies? Haaretz, you have plus 972.
Haaretz mentioned the Hannibal Directive. They mentioned choppers, Israeli police choppers, shooting our own civilians on October 7th.
We literally have video footage.
Those are good. No, we don't. We
literally have video footage showing Palestinians running away and them dropping dead at the aid distribution centers. Yes, we see them. They're holding the bags of food. They're in an area that's controlled by the IDF, because those areas where the food distribution centers are in, that's all IDF-controlled territory. And so they're in IDF areas, and the Israelis are shooting at them, and you see a Palestinian man holding a sack of food, and he drops dead.
I would like you to post that video in the link below. X. Because
I literally did a video about this. I uploaded it 2 days ago. It's on my channel. I showed the video. I skipped the part where the guy dies.
It is likely Hamas terrorist incident that happens all the time.
Everything's
also, those
Hamas.
episodes. This is what it is, Theodore. I would also ask you that Israel has dropped the equivalent of 2 atomic bombs on the Strip. Yet, according to Hamas's own calculations, their own figures, less than 3% of the population has perished. Do you know how many people perished in the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombings? Over 200,000. So, if Israel is committing genocide, it's a pretty bad genocide.
Okay, so let's talk about that. A number of days ago, Piers Morgan had an IDF Hosperus propagandist by the name of Benjamin Anthony, someone that you would get along with very well. You guys would agree on everything. Benjamin Anthony came on Piers Morgan's show to defend the Israeli government, to defend the IDF, just like you're doing right now. And he said to Piers Morgan, Piers, with his fake British accent, he said, Piers, actually, it's actually a 1 to 2 combatant to civilian ratio. So
I think it's 1 to 1, maybe less.
This is what the Hosbers are saying. And do you know where he's getting it from? He's getting it from John Spencer, who is the major propagandist, supposedly a professor on military strategy. He is a main
West Point.
He's a West. Oh yes, he's an expert, and the Israelis use him all the time. And so Benjamin Anthony was using John Spencer on the Piers Morgan show, and Benjamin Anthony said, well, actually, Piers, it's a 2 to 1 civilian to combatant kill ratio. For every 2 civilians, it's 1 combatant dead. So for every 1 combatant dead, we kill 2 civilians. And no modern army has ever strived to have such a kill ratio. And do you know what Piers Morgan said? He said, oh, okay, so how many Hamas have you actually killed? How many combatants have you actually killed? And he said, we've killed around 30,000 Hamas combatants. Oh, so it's a 1 to 2 ratio, a combatant to civilian ratio. That means you've killed 60,000 civilians. And so Benjamin Anthony was asked,
2 to 1. I believe it might be 1 to 1.
Why was Benjamin Anthony so ashamed to say he killed 60,000 people, or that his military killed 60,000 people? He kept refusing to say it. He was so ashamed.
Theodore, how would you explain this? There was a senior Hamas official about a few months back,
Jesus,
and he admitted that the Strip. He admitted just quick. It's a good point. He admitted that the Strip has seen about 50,000 births since 10/7. There's been more people born in the Strip than those that have died. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that count for anything?
So, going back to John Spencer's, you just asked me a question. You said something. Let me finish what I'm going to say. So, why was Benjamin Anthony so ashamed to say that Israel has killed 60,000 people?
I have not watched that debate. I
He
do
didn't
watch
want to
Piers
say it. He
Morgan a
doesn't
lot. I
want to
did
say
not
we
watch
have
that
killed
one.
60,000 people. Because you know why? Because it's so horrendous. And the other thing I want to say is that there was an internal IDF report that got leaked out in which the IDF admitted that 83% of the people they have killed are civilians. That's from an internal IDF report.
That's interesting too, because it was internal leaked documents from Hamas, which clearly states that they use hospitals as
You're deflecting. You're
headquarters
deflecting. You're
to
deflecting.
store weapons. Well, look, it's just simple. Theodore, it's just simple. If we were trying to commit genocide, it's like back to the War of Independence. You can go back to 1948, for example, the same argument about expulsions and genocide and whatnot. Look, I'll put it to you like this. David Ben-Gurion, in July of 1948, the IDF is winning. We were pushing back all of the Arab armies. Ben-Gurion's generals said, now's the time. Go into Judea and Samaria. Go right now. Yehuda Shomron, go. And he said, no, I'm not going to do it. Why? Here's what his answer. His answer was, if I take Yehuda Shomron, we will absorb a significant Arab minority. The country would have a much larger minority than it has gained today, at 21%. It'd be much higher today if that was the case. If expulsion was undermined, he would have said, oh, by golly, let's go in, we'll just expel them. Historically, about 60,000 Arabs were expelled from the Lod region, that area was expelled, about 60,000. The majority of them left of their own accord. We have this by John Bagot Glubb, the leader of the Jordanian, Buddhist-trained Jordanian Arab Legion. And then we also have Arab testimony. I can send you a link of about 9 Arabs testifying that they were forced out by their own commandos. It's a very similar situation in Gaza. As I said earlier, Hamas does not have the capabilities to destroy Israel. So they're going to try to destroy our credibility, Israel's reputation. But as Bibi Netanyahu said, if they succeed, it will be the end of democracy ever having any kind of victory in any kind of conflict. You know, Theodore, it's very interesting. I don't believe it is a good long-term strategy to grant terrorists immunity because they hide behind civilians. If they did that, God forbid, every terrorist organization would hide behind civilians, and then it would be impossible to ever defeat them. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it is Hamas that botched Gaza's water, the subterranean water. It was them that botched the electricity. It was them that never built a single bomb shelter. It was them that started the conflict, and knowing that Israel would respond, they were the ones to blame for the entire conflict. For every blood spilt is entirely on Hamas's head. And Theodore, are you there?
I'm just listening to you.
Oh, okay. I also want to add that, what was I going to say a moment ago? I have a brain fog for a second. What was it I was going to say? Well, I don't recall now. Oh yes, I recollect now. Theodore, how come there hasn't been a single mass protest on behalf of those who were killed in Yemen, on behalf of those who were killed in Sudan, those who were killed in Syria? About 600,000 were killed in Syria, 400,000 Yemenis were killed in Yemen. There wasn't a single protest for the Arab death there. Could you explain that? How come it's always targeting Israel? If Jews are involved, you have worldwide protests. Jews are not involved, nobody seems to care. So I think antisemitism is playing its work at the bottom of this. Because does the left, for example, do they care for black lives? Do they care for Arab lives? Apparently not.
So let's go back. I just want to talk about Israeli war crimes, and you don't want to talk about that. You want to deflect. Yeah, you just want to deflect. You couldn't answer a damn thing. I gave you actual evidence. I gave you eyewitness accounts. I gave you testimonies from Israeli soldiers. You can go to what Haaretz has written. You can go to what the New York Times has published. You can go to the fact that you can go to you can actually reference the fact that literally dozens upon dozens of doctors, for example, one of whom was a man by the name of Mark Perlmutter, who is a Jewish American surgeon, who is actually the leader of a conference of surgeons here in the United States, and he talked about how he lost count of all the kids that he found with bullet holes in their heads. And there's X-ray photos that you can look at. The New York Times published them. The Dutch newspaper. There was a Dutch newspaper that recently published it, De Volkskrant. A number of days ago, they show you all of the photos of X-rays showing the bullets in children's skulls. There was a little 4-year-old Gazan girl who was found with a bullet in her skull. I just would like to know, did that little girl deserve to get shot? Was she Hamas?
I don't think the IDF would have committed such an act.
Okay, you're just being dishonest, and you want to deflect. You just want to deny reality. You just want to deny reality.
The New York Times had a big, huge fiasco about the one boy who was starving. Turned out he was suffering from a genetic disease.
So now you want to backtrack. So now you want to deflect. I've heard of all this stuff before. Now you want to deflect on the reality. Now you want to deflect the X-ray photos, the surgeons talking about. Now you want to talk about this one story, dude. You're such a lying coward.
There are plenty of stories.
You're such a lying coward, dude. I don't want to talk to you. You're a lying coward. You don't want to face the reality. You don't want to admit anything. You don't want to admit a damn thing. I'll admit to you, Hamas did atrocities in the kibbutzim. I'll admit that to you. I was doing videos about it when it happened. You can look at them. I'm not an anti-Semite. I don't believe in killing. I don't think killing Jews is good. But you guys cannot admit to one damn thing. You deflect, you change the subject, you lie, you deny, you gaslight. This is what you do.
It's funny, Theodore. It's funny that you haven't answered any of my accusations either. For example, Israel dropping the equivalent of 2 atomic bombs, and yet you haven't, thought twice.
And I told you about the internal, IDF report that says 83% of the people that they're killing are civilians. And in fact, if you look at the Hamas number, which says, I think, 60,000, it's actually a lot lower than what some of the Israeli hospitalists have said. For example, Benjamin Anthony, who is a hospitalist like yourself, you guys would get along perfectly well. He said that that Israel has killed 30,000 Hamas, and it's a 2-to-1. It's a 2-to-1 civilian to combatant kill ratio, which means that in total Israel has slaughtered 90,000 people. So it's actually much higher than Hamas's number. So you can say, well, Hamas number is a lie, but then you can go to the Israeli hospitalist, and he's going to give you a higher number.
Well, here's what's
in fact, if you look at what was written on the Tempest, it says that around 100,000 people were killed. I don't think it's 30,000. I don't think it's even 60,000 people. I think it's much higher than that. They haven't found all the bodies in the rubble. You think they found all the bodies in the rubble? You think they found all the bodies in the rubble?
No, of course not. No.
And Mr. So it's a lot higher then. And then you have Mr. Smotrich. So then you have Mr. Smotrich. So then you have Mr. And then you have Israel Katz talking about putting people in concentration centers where the people will not be able to leave. And then you have Mr. Trump saying that the people are going to be relocated. And then you have Smotrich saying that Gaza will be cleansed. Gaza will be cleansed. And then you have Mr. Netanyahu saying to slaughter Amalek. And then you have Mr. Smotrich recently saying that we are going to build upon Gaza. And right now we are going through the demolition phase.
Mm-hmm. And Yoav Gallant said they were animals, but he was referring to Hamas, so we have to keep that in context.
Well, according to Yehuda Vach, all Gazans are Hamas.
Well, that's his opinion, then, unfortunately.
That's what he said. And but hold on, it's not just an opinion, it's policy, because Yehuda Vach orders his people to shoot anyone who passes an arbitrarily made line into a kill zone that the Israelis set up in Gaza, in the Netzrim corridor.
So here's what's very interesting, Theodore. As we know, war is hell, conflict is hell.
Collateral damage. So kill people, okay?
Collateral damage exists.
Shoot 4-year-olds in the head, okay.
So here's what I want to ask you, though. Good point, yes. Good point.
Who says good point?
Here's what I want.
Who said good point?
It's just passerby, my friend.
Oh, your friend agrees with me?
Here's what I want to say. No, he agreed with me. Here's what I want. Here's what I wanted to say, Theodore.
Okay.
Theodore. No. Theodore, here's what I want to put out to you for a moment. Okay? What's his battle? The Ukrainians, they were in the middle of a war zone. They were able to flee. Now, how come Ukrainians, is it because they're white? How come you do not oppose Ukrainian war refugees? But when it comes time for Gazans, they all have to stick together within tents, within 30,000 unexploded ordinances, within full of debris. They have to just remain in that area. You know, why should we let them? Is that a place to raise would you raise your family in such a situation within an active war zone? Wouldn't it be better if they were allowed to flee, even if temporarily? Go to Sinai, for example, go to Jordan. There's plenty of space for them, like Ukrainian refugees. So, Theodore, are you a racist? Because I would imagine you have no problem with white Ukrainians fleeing Ukraine to safety, but yet, when it comes time for Gazans, they have to be stuck in Gaza. They have
That's
to
not
be
what
trapped.
I'm talking about. That's not what I'm saying. If they're
That's what
allowed
you
to
said a moment
leave,
ago.
no, it's not. No, it is not. If they are allowed to leave and they are allowed to come back, that is another thing, but they will not be allowed to come back.
And how do you know that?
Because Donald Trump said that. And the Israelis accepted it and embraced it
And
lock,
there was
stock, and barrel.
and there was also another time when Donald Trump said they could come back. Later on, he said that as well.
The Israelis won't
Donald
allow
Trump
them to
says
come
all
back,
kinds
just
of
like they
things.
did. They haven't allowed any of the Palestinians in Jordan to come back. They didn't allow any of the Palestinians in Syria to come back.
Yes,
They didn't allow any of the
yes.
Palestinians in
And
Lebanon
thank
to come
God.
back. So
And
they're
thank
not going to
God.
allow the. So they're not going to
And
allow.
thank God.
Thank God. Okay, you're proving my
It was
point. So they're not going to
Abbas.
allow
It was
them.
Abbas.
Okay, so they're not going to allow them to come back. That's a bunch of nonsense.
No. We're talking about 1948. That is different from modern
But
day
they're
Gaza.
going to follow the same scheme. They're not going to allow
Oh,
them
you don't
back.
know that.
They're
You
going to
don't know
push
that.
people out. I do know that.
And
They're going to push people
and
out.
and
They're going to
even
build
if
settlements. They're going to build settlements, and they're not going to allow anyone to come in.
and even if that was the case, here's something else that Donald Trump said. Donald Trump also said in that press conference, he said we would build beautiful homes. They could have a beautiful life in Sinai or somewhere, maybe perhaps Indonesia, somewhere nice and tropical. They will be free from war and terrorism and bombs. They can have a nice life. Theoretically, Theodore, what's so terrible about that?
What's
You know,
terrible?
we
What's
had
terrible? What's terrible about shooting people as they're coming to food
no.
distribution centers?
That is a
Because
straw man. That is not what I said.
that's not a straw man. What did the Israeli? I'm talking about the intention of the Israeli government. What did the Israeli government say in 2023? They said we're going to make Gaza unlivable. We're going to cut it off from water. We're going to cut it off from food. Mr. Smotrich said for 3 freaking months he was saying I don't want a single bit of grain to go into Gaza. I would starve those people if I could. What type of intention do these people have when they're speaking in such a way? You're going to say they have great
Yes,
intentions.
I'll tell you the intention.
You're going to
I'll
say
tell you
they
the
have,
intention.
let me finish.
The
Let me finish.
intention.
Let me finish. You're going to say they have great intentions. But if this was the other way around and Jews were the ones who were being pushed out of their homes and Jews were the ones who were being shot at as they were queuing up for food and Jews were the ones who were being bombed through AI mechanisms, you wouldn't be sitting here saying, well, actually, these people have great intentions.
Well, that's the thing, Theodore. The Israeli taxpayers are now paying to resupply THF. In fact, Smotrich was accused of feeding the enemy, feeding Hamas. There you go. Israeli taxpayers.
He was accused of feeding the enemy, so all Gazans are Hamas now, right?
Well, this is what
That's what
one
Yehuda
minister
Vach said. Hold on, that's what
This-
Yehuda Vach said, and what he says actually is applied to policy because the Israelis have set up kill zones or what they call extermination zones, and there was a poor Israeli soldier who was told terrorists are coming, terrorists, and he opened fire and he ended up killing 2 children, and then he couldn't sleep at night. And then his commander said, don't worry, Mr. Israeli soldier. Those children were Hamas anyway. They were the enemy. So who gives a shit? That's what you support. You support that? Do you support that? Do you support the killing? Do you support the sniping of young Myra, 4-year-old girl, in the head? Do you support the killing of Hind? Do you support the slaughter of Hind Rajab, in which the Israelis fired over 300 rounds into her, and there was no terrorist there? Do you support that?
Theodore.
No. I want to know. Do you support that? Do you support that?
No,
yes or no?
No.
That's what Israel is doing.
We don't know.
You're denying it.
We don't know.
Of course we know.
We don't know if these stories are true. We don't
We
know
have
if they're
evidence after evidence because all you people do is deny. If you go, for example, to the Goldstone report, or was it the Goldstone report? It talks about the slaughter of the Samuni family, in which Israelis literally gunned down dozens of people, and that was back in Kasled. The Israelis denied it, but then if you go to the houses where the Samuni family was living, they found graffiti that was spray painted by IDF soldiers. And do you know what the graffiti said? Death to Arabs, good Arabs or dead Arabs, 1 Arab dead, 999,000 to go, because that was the population of Gaza at the time. And it was just riddled with genocidal language. That was the site where they slaughtered the Samuni family. And they denied it. When Palestinians were coming out and saying they're shooting us outside of these aid distribution zones, people like you were saying, oh, this is a lie. It's all Hamas. Then Israeli soldiers came out and said, no, actually, it's true. Oh, well, these people are liars. Well, more Israeli soldiers came out and said, no, I was actually ordered to shoot at people as a sniper. I fired 50 to 60 rounds a day. Oh, all these people are liars. All these people are liars. Okay, stop. All these people are liars.
This is akin to Yale Golan.
And then
Golan, who
where's
said
the
it's
video?
Pastime.
Where's the video? Where's the videos? Then we have videos. And you guys just continue to deny, and gaslight.
Theodore, listen, very carefully here. Hamas uses human shields. It is their strategy
I can't do
to make
this.
Israel,
I'm done.
to destroy Israel's reputation.
I'm done, dude. We're done. You're done.
It's as
You're
simple as
annoying.
that.
You're obnoxious. You're a liar. You're evil. I don't want to have this conversation. Goodbye. Get the fuck out. You're just a liar.